Cool. Topic one, coronavirus. Um, what are the tests for coronavirus and how exactly do they work? So right now, at least in our community in the US, we have re RT-PCR, which I'll define in a second, and rapid blood testing. So the second one takes probably about 15 minutes, and the first one takes between 4 hours to I'd say 2 days, depending on resources. I'll talk about that in a little bit too. So before we can actually talk about those two tests, and there's going to be some acronyms and scientific sounding things. You don't need to remember any of that. Um, Maybe I'll just skip saying some of that. I don't know. We'll see. Um, but the point is, these concepts are not super hard to understand. And I want to talk about it so the community and students can actually understand what we're facing and what scientists and researchers are actually doing day to day. So before we can talk about that, we have to understand the structure of a virus, which I'll review again. A little bit about nucleotides. Don't worry about the word. Um, RNA versus DNA. I'm sure you've heard of what DNA is. Um, and then we're going to go over these two vocab words, which are very useful for our understanding. Because the whole point of vocabulary is so we can communicate effectively, right? We don't want to make things more complicated than necessary. So, structure of a virus. Um, we're going back to this picture. Let's zoom in. This is a picture of a virus, again from electron microscope, not an actual picture, too small to use light to actually show a picture. They have to be generated. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, this is the outside of a virus with the stuff like antigens and other stuff. But on the inside of it, we have its genetic material. So in humans and other living things with cells, we have DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Not important. In a lot of viruses, and used in human cells to transfer information sometimes, is RNA, which is just ribonucleic acid. So the only difference between the two is that these little colorful pieces that match up, like this yellow goes there, blue goes in there, we can think of those as letters inside of mm, a message. So DNA is essentially this very long message coding your body, telling you exactly how to create parts of your body and how your body should function. RNA is the same thing, but it's used in this virus in particular, coronavirus. Some viruses also use DNA. So the difference between the two is that instead of one of these letters, T, we have a U. And so these chemical pieces kind of all join together like Lego pieces or like letters to form a message that can be read and interpreted by the body and by our scientists who have the machines to read these. So if we go back to my notes, because I don't remember, what was I going to talk about? So RNA versus DNA, basically think of both of those as books. They're books giving you instructions on how a cell should function. Proteins, what are they? Proteins, for our sake, and probably for most people's sake, you should understand it as nano building blocks. They're super small blocks used to build things and make things. And enzymes are a specific type of protein. They're not a variant, they're just a type of protein, specific blocks that function as nanomachines. They can do certain functions. They can attach to things and rip them apart. They can grab things and put them together. They can move things from one area of the cell to another. They could attach to something and activate a different feature. One example that I'm not sure, but maybe you've heard of is lactase. I have a lactase pill right here because Mr. Yao is lactose intolerant. Lactose intolerant. And what that means is Mr. Yao lost his ability to spell intolerant correctly, and he lost his ability to digest a type of sugar found only in milk, and that sugar is called lactose. See, it's an O instead of the A. So there's an enzyme called lactase that breaks that lactose into two to make regular sugar, which is known as glucose. So because Mr. Yao can't break that down because he doesn't make enough of these enzymes, um, he just ends up farting a lot if he drinks too much milk. So he has to eat these pills if he wants to eat ice cream or eat yogurt or drink milk. So enzymes, what do? They perform various functions. You can think of them as nano machines. They're nano machines. See how much. So we got, huh? Maybe I should cut that. Yeah, we're gonna chop that off right there. We'll do that as a preview lesson, and then we'll cover the other two.